get on here for a bit. So, yesterday was like 100 degrees out here, and then today's 65 on the day that fall falls. So, on the day that fall falls, we drop 35 degrees, which in Arkansas, that's not that abnormal. We'll start warming up again here over the weekend, get a little bit warmer. But still in flip-flops and shorts, but I had to throw a hoodie on, looking like Darth Vader or one of them Star Wars cats. Running this here a little liver real quick. I had a question from Pika out there. Shout out to him. He's a young fool following the channel for a while now. I've had other people ask me the same question or similar questions, and I pretty much laid out the blueprint for this journey out here to Arkansas in other videos, but just in case for people who haven't seen it or heard it, I'm just going to give the steps. I'm not going to be like, this is how I did it. I mean, it is how I did it, but I'll just lay out the steps the best I can. And I wasn't going to type all this, so I was like, you know what? People don't do VRs no more. Let me do a VR. So, VR to you, Pika. Here you go. So, this will go for almost everybody. I think it'll work for anybody that tries to do the same thing. You're stuck in the rat race. You're in the city. Prices on shit have changed, so it will be a tougher path to follow, but that's neither here nor there. Really is just getting the boots on the ground and getting out of Pound Town, getting out of downtown, and getting on the ground, the earth, the soil, the falling leaves in the trees. Some places around the lake and around the rivers where it's cooler, the leaves are already coming off the trees. You can start seeing it. Fall is here. It's been delayed, but it is finally here. Gonna have a couple more warm days this weekend, but I don't know if that should be its own chat. But so you're gonna get out of the rat race. You're gonna get down to the ground, to the Mother Earth channel. You know, run your fingers through the dirt and the clay and the decomposing leaves out here in the forest floor. First of all, you got to have work lined up. If you don't have any work lined up, any way to like be making money, then everything is almost impossible or damn near impossible. So you apply for jobs in the area that you're going. Maybe the jobs are only, maybe you want to be in an area, but there's only jobs 30 minutes away. I mean, that's all right, you know. I mean, commuting, being a city person and having to commute is not really that big of a deal. So, you know, if you have a commute, you should have a commute, because who wants to like live even close to the smallest of towns? I live close to a small town. It's getting bigger. There's tons of people moving there, and I'm far enough away from it that when I go into town, I'm shocked. I'm like, holy shit, there's a lot of people, and here's all the assholes, this, that, and the other. But I'm so deep, far back in the woods that, you know, there ain't no interstate coming through here anytime soon. So you got to have a job lined up before you can make any moves. You know, just like you got to have some money in the pocket before you can make any moves. So money in the pocket, leaving where you're going, whether you're hawking all your possessions, which, you know, you get rid of all your shit, you'll be slimmer, you know, you'll be easier to navigate life in tough situations. You come out to a place like into the country and have a bunch of baggage, and that could be, you know, a relationship baggage, that could be like actual baggage, you holding on to too much shit and not letting it go. You know, being slim and aerodynamic is a good thing. So, you know, getting rid of shit, fire selling everything that you got that you don't have to you don't have to have. Um, Make it easier on yourself. You're not traveling with so much shit. When you get to a place, maybe you don't have no room. Maybe you have almost next to nothing room, and where are you gonna put all that shit? So that's helpful. So money in the pocket, coming out of the rat race slim with not much baggage on you, and having a job lined up. The job, you can't even make any of these moves without having the job lined up. You gotta have the job lined up. It doesn't even have to be. It doesn't even have to be like you got the job. A lot of places, a lot of places out here in the country, they want a face-to-face interview. There might even be a telephone interview in the beginning, but before they hire you, they're going to want a face-to-face interview with you. That's just how it is out here. I don't know if the city has moved beyond that and is only doing non-face-to-face interviews or what, but you line up 3, 4 potential prospects as jobs. You're applying in the area that you're trying to be, the AO. And when they get on the phone with you and you start talking to them on that phone interview, is exactly what I did. They're going to ask you, well, you live in Las Vegas, for example. Well, when are you going to be here? A lot of them will ask you different variables of that question. When are you going to be here? So you're thinking about moving here, whatever. Yes, I'm moving to that area. Yes, I need work. I could be in Arkansas / paint your destination in a week. you know Give yourself some time to wrap your head around it. Don't be in such a rush. If they say, well, we need you here in 3 days, which was never the case. Everybody gave me a week and then some. But I had 3 interviews lined up when I first came out here, and went to all 3 of them, scored on one. One didn't call me back, and I forget what happened to the third. But the job lined up, the interview lined up, and a date when you're going to depart so you can get to said interview. And the more you rush yourself, the more like you end up telling the employer, hey, yeah, I'll be there in 2 or 3 days. You're going to drive for a day and a half at the minimum. And that's hauling ass like I did. And then you're going to have to turn and burn and go to an interview the next day. I think I got here in a day and a half, if that, crashed like crazy for that night. Might have bullshitted and fucked off that next day and kind of got my bearings about where I was. But by like the 3rd day I was here, I was already starting my interview process with the jobs that I had set up with in Las Vegas. So the jobs were lined up, the job interviews were lined up. Everybody's hiring in these smaller towns. Everybody's looking for talent. They're looking for skilled workers, but they're looking for unskilled workers that they can shape and mold and make them into what they want them to fit in whatever the job is. So, you go close to a lake or you go close to the ocean, a lot of boat jobs. I can tell you right now, boat labor is up there as far as, the work sucks, the pay's pretty decent and can be really good in some instances. And you really don't gotta know shit. They'll throw you in at the bottom, you work your way up. And while you're doing that, you're getting experience, but you're also putting some feelers out for maybe something better if that's not living up to the hype. So that's the job side of the coin. The living situation has totally changed. Might be different in some areas, but in my area, the living situation has totally changed. It went from like mom and pop rent cabins where you could come in and find a cabin on Facebook. And I'm not saying that that's not there no more. Maybe it is. I'm walking over here next to the road instead of back into the woods. But You know, when I got out here, I had Facebooked a lady before I had even set foot in Arkansas and set up a cabin where I could stay, starting with like a week or two, something like that. Something where I could get a week or two of staying somewhere, kind of get my foot in the ground, foot in the door, however you want to say it, and do some independent thinking and go to work and earn maybe a check. So that whole situation has kind of changed. All those places that I knew of that were here, they're all Airbnbs now. And all that means to me, really, Airbnb is that they could tax a bunch of fucking money onto something that was super cheap. Like, you know, I paid $150 a week or whatever the hell I paid, which to me was cheap coming from Vegas. I think it was like that. It might have been a little bit more, might have been a little bit less, I forget. But got the living situation situated on Facebook Marketplace. Another thing. So we're talking almost 3 years now that I've been here. Going into my third winter. This March will be 3 years. And, you know, Marketplace has changed. Marketplace was like the shit. I could sell something. I could sell ice to an Eskimo on Marketplace. You could get and do anything. Marketplace, Facebook is a very self-destructive company. I mean, that was one of the very first things I did when I got here was just hawked all the social media, especially Facebook. But the marketplace was where it was at, and you can even do some things without like really having a Facebook. Like if maybe your wife had a Facebook, she could post some shit on the marketplace and you can wheel and deal and get phone numbers and handle your business. But that shit has dropped off so dramatically. I don't know if people just aren't buying people's bullshit right now because, you know, money's all fucked up, inflation, etc. But marketplace was whereas like you could type anything in and get the result you were looking for, whether it was living situation, land, for rent, selling something, buying something. I should say buying anything, selling anything. And it's changed. And everything's changed in 2.5 years. Everything. I mean, nothing is the same as when I stepped out of Las Vegas. Everything is totally different now. But I think this recipe could still work. So you might have to relegate yourself to Craigslist, or you know, there's a horse trader paper in a lot of southern towns and these little tiny towns around the area I am, where around they got for rent, they got for sale, etc., etc. So you got your paper, you got your paper listings, your paper classifieds, you got your Facebook Marketplace classified, your Craigslist classifieds. There's some other things for buying and selling, but I haven't found them to be all that great out here. So you got a room lined up. That's what I would use, is probably Marketplace or Craigslist. Or, you know, you might have to get a room. You might have to get a cheap ass room for a couple days while you're looking around for some living situation while going to interviews trying to score a job. So that is really the recipe, and it doesn't take a whole lot of money, especially when you're slim and you're all by yourself. You leave the rat race with a pre-plan. I mean, the more you can have it planned out, if you have the place planned out before you leave or on the way when you leave, and job interviews lined up, you're definitely winning right there. So you got to do what you got to do, but there's uh, there's that drive and that determination that backs all that up. And how bad do you want it, and how bad do you want to get out of that situation? So lining up the job and lining up your housing situation, you know, obviously got to come out with wheels, with a ride, with a whip, with a car, and you got to be mobile. But you just got to have the drive and the determination. You got to go into interviews like you own the interviews. You know, you got to go into the interview almost like you're interviewing the interviewer, you know, and kind of You know, walk away with it like you're gonna win it. Like you know you got the job. If you walk away with that attitude, that means the interview went pretty good for you. You were confident, and 9 times out of 10, you're gonna nail the job. So um, you just gotta have the job and the place living lined up, and that's probably my. It's not my full advice, but that's a good start to get yourself started. Um, VR to Pika and other people that have asked me similar questions. That's the recipe. It's not the whole recipe, but it's pretty much, uh, you know, the job and shelter. Job and shelter. You gotta have some cash in your pocket to feed yourself. You're gonna have to get by till you get that first check. A lot of these boat places pay weekly. There's a lot of like labor jobs where they pay weekly. Construction, a lot of construction jobs are like that, getting paid weekly, and you got cash flow instantly. Shit's getting more expensive, but if you ain't got kids and a mortgage and all this other crazy shit and a car payment and all types of shit like that, this recession, inflation, you know, on the way down collapse is not going to affect someone who's real slim like that, who doesn't have multiple mouths to feed and has to worry about multiple heads to take care of. When you just got to worry about yourself, it's pretty easy. I mean, you could do it with adding a person. If it was your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, that just ends up being two incomes. If you ain't got too small of kids, but you add small kids in the mix too, you're just talking about a whole nother thing. That um, there's a way. There's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. So, but just coming out here by yourself, starting out, and then bringing the family once you're established, that's the best plan, and that is pretty much the recipe. Jobs lined up, shelter lined up. Feed yourself, get them paychecks, stack them, have that cash flow, and start making the moves that you're trying to make. Look for owner finance shit out here. Out here in this area, Arkansas, the South, all this shit. There's a lot of people that are just, they'll owner finance some shit. Don't ask me what the incentive is for them to do that. I really haven't quite figured that out, other than maybe they just don't want to deal with banks. Um, you could do a owner finance where you just probably, sign some papers and shit, get it notarized, and it's legit, and you just go from there. But make sure what you're doing is legit. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your energy. And so that's the recipe. That's the VR I got to you, Pika, and the other couple people that have asked me similar questions. But fall has fallen. Let me see. Some of the leaves are already changing. Some of them are dying, but some of them are changing. So there'll be a ton of leaves, more that's on the ground than it's already on the ground right now. So I'm gonna have to get me a blower ASAP so I can blow all these leaves into a big old pile and burn these shits. Leaves, they just bring bugs, and they bring mice, and they bring snakes, and all kinds of shit. So, yeah. Maybe I might fire one up later. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to get a couple thoughts out because I had that. And then I just wanted to talk about the fall. It's finally here. And if you're homesteading in the fall, you know that just behind fall is winter. And you must... What up, First Shot? One Shot. And who else? Barry Wood and Maze Cat. What's up? You gotta have... you gotta have that mindset that, the summer is for putting in that work and putting in all that preparation, and you go into fall and you're wrapping up your fall preparations, you're wrapping up your winter preparations, and then you're in winter, and then once you're in winter, you're in it. There ain't no getting out of it. So they finally decided to start growing peppers now that it's getting all cold. So what up, A-Train? Oh, here's some jalapenos started popping too. Whoops. Jalapenos popping too all of a sudden. So, oh look, the little rose budding too. Don't got much left from the garden. Everything's been pretty much destroyed. But I gotta clean some of this up. I gotta get the snips out and snip these things back and clean them up a little bit. But yeah, fall is upon us, uh, which is good because the bugs are gonna go away. The bugs have just been stupid this summer. I mean, it's been bug city, and then moving into the woods and cutting out a path in the woods and being right in the middle of the woods, a season or two. Shit, it's bug city. So, I wanted to see, what did he say? Oh, first shot one. Our first one shot says he wish he wasn't stuck in the burbs, dude. I'm putting the recipe out there. Get out while you can. Escape from LA, escape from New York, escape from suburban New York and LA. I mean, it's all the same thing. You got to get down to a community where it's like 10,000 people, give or take. Get into a community like that, people are still fucking nice to each other for the most part in town, and then your community outside of town where you'll be, people are just really really good to each other. Wouldn't doubt if anybody around here, if I haven't even really met my neighbors in the new spot, but I eventually will, and we'll see. But got to get out, man. Got to get out. Everything's crashing. It's going down the toilet. It's like, why hang on for any longer? Uh, I've heard all the reasons. Yeah, first shot. I've heard all the reasons, man, and I don't know. I don't really know. Everybody's situation is different, but sometimes you just got to grab the bull by the horns and you just got to go get it. You got to make what you have to make happen, because the worst outcome, you know, the worst outcome, it's not the worst outcome, but an outcome of making the wrong decision, pulling the family out of the city or the suburbs, moving to the country. There's only two sides to that coin. Either you end up wrong and you're raising your family in a way better place, and I guess we just slow boil forever, or you're right, shit goes all the way down the toilet and they're going to be counting their motherfucking graces that you pulled them out of the situation. um, so it's always lots of outcomes, I guess, but really to me that's the two outcomes you could have if you pull your family out of the shit. Now, if you pull yourself out, you could just thank yourself later. You can go, I told myself so. But when you got family, you won't even have to say I told you so. You won't have to say any of that, because they'll just realize, they'll be like, damn, Tony was right. He was right all along. Never wanted to listen to him. I didn't think it would be this bad, but like, if we are where we are with 2 years into the residency, double that, and where will we be in 2 more years with this residency? Imagine where we are now being double bad at the very least, you know, and that's how you'll come up with your answer of how bad it'll be. So, just my 2 cents, throwing it out there. I might fire one up later. I might not. We'll see. I think I'm gonna have me a brewski and chill. But shout out to everybody out there. Shout out to Barry Wood. Shout out to First Shot, A Train. Man, it just got cool out here, so it just completely, the weather totally changed from yesterday. But I want to do a chat. I want to fire up a chat, like a Q&A chat, where I got my phone, because all I got is phone now. I got my phone fully charged, and I do a Q&A, and maybe even bounce if I can get the signal good enough. Oh man, Horseshoe Bend's hella nice. Who was that? Is that A Train? A Train, yeah. Horseshoe Bend is really nice, man. I mean, I want to say that's mountainous over there too. I want to say that's part of the Ozarks too. I'm not sure. it's just before it starts flattening out and going into the delta. I know that, but I want to do a Q&A and maybe set up a panel. If I can bounce it off a hotspot, we'll have to see if we can bounce off my hotspot good enough to where it'll make it worth it. Otherwise, I'll just have to do one of these solo dolos right here. But I want to do a Q&A sometime, probably this weekend. I'm actually gonna have a room. I think I'm gonna be doing some traveling here for the next off and on next couple days, and then a couple days next week. So I'm gonna be on some stiff Wi-Fi, hopefully. And I think that's when I'll do the Q&A. Drink some brewskis, do some Q&A, and just try to switch it up from what everybody else is doing, man. I just get tired of what everybody else is doing. Nobody's even doing anything exciting anymore. Everybody's so fucking boring. Yeah, well, you could email me a train at tacticaltony702@gmail.com, and I'll give you some info, like kind of where I am and all that shit, and you get back to me, and I'll Google it, man. I'll even drive by that bitch because I'm out there working all the time. I was just out in Horseshoe Bend like last week, I believe. So yeah, Arkansas is where it's at. I don't know, man. It's where it's at for me, anyways. Um, it just really, it's really solid. It's a very solid foundation. It's rockin' saw out here in this northern part, anyways. Fucking rocks everywhere. Good soil. I mean, people are fucking growing crops all over the place. People are feeding their fucking livestock. There's more livestock up this way, and then in the delta, it's more plants, farms and shit. But shit grows fantastic up here in the mountains too. So, yeah, that's what I got. Look out for me. I'm gonna try to do the Q&A, like time and date it so people could see it coming a couple days out and everybody be ready. But other than that, look out for the recession, Great Depression, funeral procession. Peace.